So welcome everybody. I'd like to welcome you to this meeting of council. The meeting is being live streamed and recorded, and the voices and images of those participating in the meeting may be captured as part of this recording. We acknowledge the original custodians of the land that we're meeting from tonight and pay respects to elders past and present, and welcome any descendants who may be watching the meeting this evening. As councillors, we have all taken an oath to carry out our duties in the best interests of the people of Indigo Shire and to do this in a fair and impartial manner. We're all committed to exercising the council's powers and functions to the best of our skills and judgment. I will just note again, the reason we're on Zoom tonight, of course, is the COVID restrictions which are being lifted, and just to assure the community that we've been very fortunate in obtaining some funding for technology that will allow us to meet off-site in other parts of the Shire and be able to live stream meetings. And we're really looking forward to being able to do that so that we can engage with our communities face-to-face as soon as COVID allows that to happen. So just wanted to let you all know that that's something we've been working on and are hoping to get underway as soon as the COVID restrictions allow, hopefully the next meeting. Do I have any apologies or leave of absence? Any declarations of conflict of interest?
Yes, that would be all right. So at item 11.1, I have a material conflict of interest due to a potential direct benefit by a family member. And for 11.6, of a material conflict of interest due to a potential direct benefit.
All right, thank you, councillor. So for those items, Councillor Goldsworthy will be out of this meeting and put in a waiting room, a virtual waiting room. What I will do is, with the permission of the meeting, move 11.6 to be heard straight after 11.1 so that Councillor Goldsworthy is out of the meeting for those two items rather than coming in and out. Is that okay with everybody?
Just need a motion for that, Madam Mayor.
Oh, okay. So I'll put the motion that 11.1. Oh, somebody else needs to put the motion. Yes, Councillor Croucher. Can you put the motion that we move 11.6 to be heard after 11.1? The seconder? Councillor Price. All those in favour? Carried. Thanks, councillors. Okay, so the next item is community and council achievements. We've got a few great achievements from our community tonight, and I think the first one, Councillor Shepherd, you were going to talk about a young person from our community that's been awarded from Chiltern SES.
Yes. Yeah, I'd just like to congratulate Jessica Zuber and the Chiltern SES. Jessica's the unit controller, and she's been chosen as the Heart Volunteer Award winner for 2021 as the Coles Emergency Responder winner. So when she just joined, there were only 6 members, and now there's 40, and they say that's up to the good work that she's done. I'm sure she would say that yeah, and when you look at the list of things that she's involved in, more than the SES, she's involved in just about everything that's in Chiltern. So congratulations to her, but also congratulations to the Chiltern SES and volunteers who do a great job. So perhaps you could send a letter of congratulations to her. Do you think, Jenny, is from the Mayor? I just think
absolutely.
That, you know, we really need to congratulate our volunteers for the great work they do.
Absolutely happy to do that. And I think if I can get the CEO, Mr. Areno, to make a note of that, we will make sure that letter goes out. And I think Councillor Goldsworthy, you also had something you wanted to raise today.
Yes, if we've been reading the newspaper over the last few days, you would have noticed that the Beechworth Lake Sample Caravan Park, Sue and Roger Humphreys were the recipient of the Excellence in Hospitality, Leisure and Tourism Award winner for the Albury-Wodonga Business Awards. I know we used to host business awards in the Indigo Shire, but unfortunately we don't have the money anymore to do that. But those recipients are very, very worthy. And we've also got Shingleback Off-Road. They received the Excellence in Innovation, and across the broad categories, of which there are about 10 of them. They're also nominated as the Most Outstanding Business, which they they took out. So congratulations to Kimberly and Andrew Taylor for winning on that score. So two very successful businesses, and certainly with Shingleback, you'll see their products marketed all around Australia now, and they're very big in the mountain biking world.
Yes, well, they're all fantastic. So I think they all deserve a letter of congratulations, and I'm sure they'll get a special mention in the weekly update as well from our comms team. So congratulations to all of those people, and to all the people that we haven't mentioned tonight, of course, who do wonderful things in our Shire, particularly as Councillor Shepherd mentioned, our volunteers. So the next is a condolence motion, and Councillor Horn wishes to acknowledge the passing of Father John Ware from Rutherglen and Chiltern. So Councillor Horn.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I wish to advise Council of the passing of one of our religious leaders, Father John Ware, on the 11th of July at the grand age of 90 years. Father Ware was highly respected and much loved through his service to congregations in Corryong, Chiltern, Cobram, Wodonga, Rushworth, Beechworth, Myrtleford, Euroa, Cobram and Wangaratta before being appointed to Rutherglen in November 1989. His birth in Shepparton was quite prophetic in that he would become a man of God, because he was born on Christmas Day in 1930. The nuns took care of his early schooling. Then he went on to St Patrick's College down in Ballarat before entering the Corpus Christi Seminary in 1947. In December 2014, Father Ware's flock celebrated his early retirement at the age of 84 years after 25 years of service to the Rutherglen parish as parish priest. He chose this date because it coincided with the occasion of the 60th anniversary of his ordination to the priesthood in Rome during December 1954. Having been a sportsman of note in his younger days, Father Ware maintained a very keen interest in all sport, especially football and golf. And in fact, he was playing golf just 4 weeks before he died. He was an avid reader, and he had a wonderful memory, and even in retirement, he would send letters to the editor of the Border Mail under the pseudonym John Harold. In spite of his great intellect and deep faith, Father Ware was always very approachable, very easy to talk to. His quick wit and friendly nature endeared him to everyone with whom he came in contact. No one who knew him would be surprised to know that when his trusted parishioner and local funeral director, Tony Jones, popped in to visit him on the night before he died, Father Ware very quietly told him, "Go away, I'm not ready yet." The two bishops, more than 30 priests and a church full of grateful parishioners who attended his funeral will be joined by many others across the world who will greatly miss and long remember this very special man. I'd like to request a letter of condolence under seal be forwarded to his niece in Shepparton to acknowledge the outstanding contribution Father Ware made to the social and spiritual well-being of our communities.
Okay, so I'll put the motion that our letter of condolence be sent under seal to Father Ware's niece. Do I have a mover for that? You've moved it, Councillor Horn. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Gaffney, all those in favour? Okay, thank you. And thank you for that lovely tribute, Councillor Horn.
Thank you.
All right, item 7 is confirmation of minutes from the previous meeting. The recommendation is that minutes of the council meeting held on the 29th of June 2021, as published on the council's website, be confirmed, and that the confidential minutes of the council meeting held on the 29th of June 21, as provided to councillors under separate cover, be confirmed. Do I have someone to move that? Councillor Price, seconded Councillor Goldsworthy. All those in favour? Carried. Thank you. So item 7.1 is suspension of standing orders regarding the open forum. That's so that we can bring that part of the meeting forward, and we do have some questions tonight. So recommendation is that standing orders be suspended to allow open forum to be brought forward. in the agenda to item 7.2, and that I read the questions to open forum on behalf of the questioners without the requirement that the questioner or their representative be present at the meeting. Do I have someone to move that? Councillor Price, seconder. Councillor Shepherd, all those in favour? Thanks, councillors. Okay, so the first question is from the Beechworth History and Heritage Society. These actually were asked for, these were sent in for the last meeting and very unfortunately went to the wrong folder and didn't come to the meeting. So sincere apologies to the Beechworth History and Heritage Society. And of course, we said that we would read them out for this meeting instead. And also, it's quite lengthy, so where I abbreviate a little bit, the whole thing's in writing as well on the agenda, so I'm not going to leave anything material out, but if you want to read word for word, it'll be there. So this is regarding the installation of a stainless steel water bubbler in Beechworth and reported council statements regarding the Heritage Advisor's input. The answers have been provided by Director of Infrastructure Services, Ian Ellett. Ian, are you happy for me to read it out on your behalf?
Yeah, absolutely, Mayor. Thank you.
Okay, no problem. So the first question, why was the Heritage Advisor not appraised of the prospective designs seemingly chosen arbitrarily by council staff, considering the sensitive area in which the bubbler was ultimately placed in the historic precinct? Was the Heritage Advisor consulted regarding both the site and the design of the bubbler in the planning stages? And the answer is that the design of the drinking fountain that was installed in Camp Street is the same as most of the other fountains that are being installed across the Shire in recent years in a range of locations and in many towns across the Shire. So it was about providing a consistent approach. The idea of them is that they're accessible and pet friendly. So when I say accessible, particularly for people who have mobility aids or are in wheelchairs. Council staff are very aware of the significance of the location, and for that reason, the Heritage Advisor was consulted before the drinking fountain was installed. While the location was supported, unfortunately, there was a misunderstanding between Council and the Heritage Advisor in relation to the design itself. On receiving clarification from the Heritage Advisor, a decision was taken to remove the fountain and install a design more in keeping with the character of the precinct. The Heritage Advisor has been consulted on the selection of this replacement fountain. The second question, as with the case with the railway goods shed in June 2020, and in the interest of transparency, will Council now place the relevant Heritage Advisor's report regarding the bubbler on its website for the community? And the answer to that is there is actually no report written for this regarding the bubbler installed in Camp Street. And the report that was published in relation to the Beechworth goods shed is a conservation report, which was developed to guide the recent refurbishment works to help ensure the preservation of its important heritage values. As we're rolling these out right across the Shire, there is no actual report written on this. It's part of our standard infrastructure works, but unfortunately the location for this particular one didn't work. So will Council give consideration to adapting the existing well-used heritage four-stream water fountain outside the old post office building corner to make it suitable also for disabled people, thus catering for all users? And the answer to that is no. That is actually a very important preserved feature and fountain, and to tamper with it would in fact go right against all the heritage principles of preserving important artefacts. So no, we won't be doing that. What we will do is put one that is actually accessible and provides for pets in the site that's currently there across the road from that, and move the other one, which will be relocated to another location, so it won't be wasted. Okay, I hope that answers all of those questions, and thank you for that. It certainly, we know there was a lot of concern about it, but hopefully we'll come up with a good outcome for that one. The second submitter is Mr. Robin McLeish, and he apologises for the preamble, but I'm actually quite happy to read it out because I think it's important to understand what's going on here. So the preamble is that a submission to the 21-22 budget requested information on the financial overrun for the Beechworth rail shed project. Staff stated that there was no overrun. The rail shed project was first listed in the 2018-19 approved budget for $110,000. Following the receipt of a government grant for $230,000 in 2018, Council transferred $130,000 from the Plate Layers Cottage project to obtain the $230,000 for the matching contribution. The rail shed is not listed as a carryover project in the 2019-20 budget, and the projects in the Capital Works program are not numbered. A progress report on the 29th of October council meeting indicated that it would be necessary to increase expenditure to $590,000 to achieve building standards for wholesale goods, and a further increase to $750,000 to achieve building standards for retail sales. The question is, to date, how much has been spent on the Beechworth rail shed, and what does this mean in overrun for the approved project of $110,000? So I'm going to hand to Director Ian Ellett to try and answer. It's a fairly complex question. So Ian, see how you go, and if it doesn't answer satisfactorily, Mr. McLeish, then of course you can make contact directly with Mr. Ellett to clarify.
Sure. Look, thank you for that. And I was going to offer the same thing. I'll do my best to provide the response, and Robin's more than welcome to contact me to seek any clarification. So look, in order to answer the question, I probably need to clarify a couple of things in the preamble. I guess the preamble includes a comment that the rail shed was first listed in 2018-19 with an approved budget of $110,000. So the project was in the 18-19 budget originally with a total project budget of $460,000. 230 of that was from a federal government grant, and 230 was council funds. So Mr. McLeish has referred to an approved budget of $110,000. That's actually what was carried forward when we built the 2019-20 budget. So in the 19-20 budget, we would have seen a figure of $110,000, and that really represented what we thought would be the year 2 expenditure on that project. Then a couple of things happened. We got to the end of the year. We didn't spend as much in year 1 as what we thought we would have out of the budget. So there was money carried forward, but it was still only a $460,000 project. Mr. McLeish has then recognised that there was a $130,000 transfer. So council was presented with a report in 1920, I think, which gave a couple of options to finish off the shed. One was to complete it within the existing $460,000 budget. There were some other options, and council made a decision to transfer an extra 130 from another project. So what that did was increase the total budget to 590,000. So 460 original plus the extra 130 that council put in. The question then that's being posed by Mr. McLeish, what's the total expenditure on that project? It actually came in at 575,000, or just a little bit under. So against what was budgeted and then allocated, there was actually around about a $15,000 saving against that. So look, hopefully that provides as much explanation as I can, and Mr. McLeish is welcome to contact me to seek further clarification.
Okay, thank you for that. That's the total of the public forum questions for tonight. So I need a motion to say that standing orders be resumed. Do I have someone to move that? Councillor Price, do I have a seconder? Councillor Gaffney, all those in favour? Thank you. Councillor Gaffney, I might just say, sorry, it's hard. When you put your hand up, I can only see the top of your fingers, so I might miss you. So you need to put your hand up a bit higher so I don't miss you, that's all. Okay, 10.1 is the application to amend planning permit PP 160018.2 for Nortree Proprietary Limited. And the recommendation is that council resolves to amend the development plan and permit PP 160018 for the subdivision of Lot 6, Beartooth Estate, Gentle Road, Tangambalanga, in accordance with the plan and conditions at attachment 4. Do I have someone to move this? Councillor Croucher, do I have a seconder? Councillor Goldsworthy, do you wish to speak to the motion, Councillor Croucher? You're on mute.
Yes, I'll have a few words to say here. I won't mind it. The planning permit for this subdivision of Beartooth Estate was actually issued in 2017, and this recommendation is really amendment to the plan by adding 4 new lots and reducing the size of some of the other lots. So look, I'd just like to move this recommendation subject to those conditions as presented in the report. Thank you.
Okay, and Councillor Goldsworthy.
Yeah, look, I'd say this isn't an ideal scenario. You've got smaller blocks on the same lot of land. They're not facing the road as we'd like them to, and there's water pressure issues in that in the surrounding developments. So whilst not ideal, I haven't got a lot of choice in the matter because it's within our state and local planning scheme to allow. So for that reason, I'll vote for it.
Okay, anyone else wish to speak to the motion? Councillor Shepherd.
Yes, look, I would just like some clarification about the water pressure in Tangambalanga Keewor. I know I've heard that it's an issue with another development, and I know it's not necessarily part of this discussion and this development, but I just would like it to be noted that there's a concern there, and when this finally does come through with the planning permit, that we're very aware that we need to ensure that the water pressure is appropriate. I know it's not our space, it's North East Waters, but even so, when the community is concerned, I think we need to be concerned.
And I will say, Councillor, we are very concerned about that. Both the CEO and I have met with the relevant developers and North East Water to try and better understand what's going on. That issue is now being pursued between the developer and North East Water. So we're not in that space. We have to step aside while that's happening. But yeah, we're very aware of the fact that there are water pressure issues in Tangambalanga, not just in the estate, but right in the town, in the older part of the town as well. So you're absolutely right. It's a major concern, and it's something that we are following up and advocating for the community and hoping to get a resolution, to see a resolution worked out between those two parties. And of course, as we find out more information, we will make sure the community is made aware of that. So is that okay? Is there anything else you want me to add to that, or any other information? Okay, but thank you for raising that issue. Anyone else wish to speak to the motion of the planning permit? Okay, do you want to sum up, Councillor Cratcher?
No, look, I think I've said enough actually, and we've heard enough.
Right.
Got my
Thank
feelings.
you. I'll put the motion. All those in favour? And it's carried. Thank you, councillors. 10.2, planning permit application PP21004 at 52 Ford Street, Beechworth. The recommendation is that council refuses this planning permit application on the grounds that insufficient information has been submitted with the application to enable an assessment to be undertaken against clause 43.01 heritage overlay. Do I have someone to move that? Councillor Gaffney, and second to Councillor Goldsworthy. Councillor Gaffney.
There's a heritage overlay on this property, and it's critical when assessing the planning permit that council has all of the information required to consider whether the application is appropriate or not. On this occasion, insufficient information was provided to council.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Goldsworthy, do you wish to speak as a seconder?
I'm going to say the report says it all.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else wish to speak to this motion? Okay, I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Carried. Thanks, councillors. 11.1, Councillor Goldsworthy.
I'll declare my conflict of interest on this matter and 11.6.
All right, and we'll deal with both of them while you're in the virtual waiting room.
Thank you.
Thanks, councillor. And administrator, I think it's you, is that Director Pinkerton? Greg, thanks. Gone? Gone. Okay, so the first one is 11.1, Industrial Land Feasibility Assessment. The recommendation is that council accepts the Industrial Land Feasibility Assessment, endorses the direction of the recommendations which articulate the role council may have in activating industrial land across the Shire, and supports the implementation of a long-term strategic land use planning project. Do I have someone to move that? Councillor Gaffney.
I'm happy to move that, Madam Mayor, with some very minor changes.
Sure. Go ahead.
The changes are, the motion is that council accepts the industrial land feasibility assessment.
Mm-hmm.
2, that council endorses the direction of the recommendations which articulate the role council may have in activating industrial land across the Shire.
Yep.
And 3, there's a change here, that council supports the implementation of a long-term industrial land use planning project.
Right.
And point 4, that this report goes to the Council Indigo Advisory Committee for comment for 60 days, and that the report be made available to the Indigo community for a period of 60 days.
Okay. Do I have someone to second that? Councillor Shepherd? Okay, go ahead, Councillor Gaffney, if you wish to speak to the motion.
The report is very detailed and quite a good report. We all love Indigo Shire the way it is. We certainly don't want major industries coming here. We're very happy that Saputo and Uncle Toby's are here, and they're of great benefit to our communities. However, there are certain tradespeople and businesses that need light industrial land for a variety of reasons, and I think it would be good if those who required industrial land submit a submission or approach council within the 60 days to make their comments known.
Thanks, Councillor. Councillor Shepherd.
I just had a couple of questions, really. In the officer's recommendation, we've said we'd ensure a relationship is maintained with Saputo and be aware of the threats and opportunities. I just think there's just been an oversight. I think that it was left out in Waganya that we would also have that same statement there with Uncle Toby and all saints, as per the REM plan report, which does suggest that we do that. So I'm just would like that amended, so that added to it, if that's okay. And then I'm also interested, it says under Chiltern on page 4, there is a suggestion that we will scope the Chiltern service station for industrial land, because of course this report has that the industrial land that we had put aside is going to be used somewhere else for the SES. So we are looking at other industrial land for Chiltern. So I'm just wondering if we could have some feedback on that Chiltern service station and what's happening with that at the moment.
Yeah, Director Mark Lawrence.
Thanks, Councillor, for the question. Yes, I understand that the development of a service centre on the freeway is experiencing some challenges, and the developer and Regional Roads Victoria are negotiating some outcomes there. So in the event that that development can't proceed for particular reasons, we would need to refocus our position for industrial land in Chiltern and examine more closely available land, work with landowners, developers, state government, and have contributions from ourselves into what's the most appropriate land that could be released for industrial land.
And sorry, just checking, I'm still live.
Still on.
Yes.
Still on.
Yeah, great. And as per the $129,000 that we had put aside for the Chiltern industrial land, if you could comment on what would happen in that space if we're going to, as per further on the agenda, we're going to be looking at spending that money on the SES, moving that across. So how do the community might be concerned about that? Are you able to allay their fears about that?
So the 129 that is you referred to was initially allocated by council to try and activate a couple of small industrial lots at the back of the Chiltern Depot, which emanated from the Chiltern Placemaking Project. As we've moved through trying to develop those lots, there's been some issues in terms of the viability of doing that, as well as the latest move to try and accommodate the Chiltern Community Hub, and with that, the relocation of the SES. So the 129,000 was never used for a broad industrial land process across Chiltern. It was specifically for the activation of that site. And the next item will deal with that in more detail.
Okay, thanks, Councillor Shepherd. Anyone else wish to speak to this motion? Yeah, Councillor Price.
I accept this land feasibility assessment as a beginning. I think that there are a variety of different needs across our shire for industrial land, and it articulates that. I don't think we have a really good understanding of that and how the role that we play and how the demand ebbs and flows. I don't think we've always been able to respond to that as quickly as we might like to, and so perhaps have missed opportunities. I have concern about the reallocation of the $129,000 for the SES. I think that's an appropriate location for them to be discussed later in the agenda, but I do worry that it undermines the activation of industrial land for Chiltern. And I think that it's a good suggestion from Councillor Gaffney for it to go out for consultation, because I think that this will take some of the community by surprise, and we certainly don't want that to be the case. We want to hear what they have to say about it and bring them along. But as we've discussed, this is the umpteenth iteration of what industrial land could look like in Chiltern in particular, and there may well be many more. I think the point is that councillors are very interested in the appropriate allocation of industrial land right across the shire, including in Chiltern. And so we'll certainly be keeping an eye on it and look forward to the next step with the land use strategy.
Thanks, Councillor. Any other councillors wish to speak to the motion? Councillor Horn?
Yes, I'd just like to say that I believe that there are some interesting and exciting prospects going forward with the development of the inland railway system. So, I think that we have some positive things happening on the horizon.
Thank you, Councillor. Anyone else wish to speak to the motion? Okay, Councillor Gaffney, wish to sum up?
Yes, I do. I certainly agree with the comments of Councillor Price. There is certainly a requirement across the shire for industrial lands, and it's very important that we do this in a very sustainable manner. We don't want to become another Wangaratta or Wodonga. A lot of our people work over there, so it's good that the major industries are there. The Indigo Shire, I think, is about heritage, history, landscapes, agriculture, and it's why we love living here. But there certainly is a need, and it must be done in a sustainable manner, and I hope we get a lot of submissions from the community. As Councillor Price said, there would be a lot not knowing about this, so this is an opportunity. I'm not knocking the report at all. I think it makes some very good points.
Okay, anyone else wish to speak to the motion? Oh, sorry, you just summed up. Sorry, I'm going to put the motion. All those in favour? Okay, that's carried. And yeah, just in terms of submissions and hearing from people, that is in fact the entire point of doing the industrial land strategic land use project. So people will have a formal opportunity there as well as reading this, there will be a process where we consult very closely with our community around what kind of land use we do need in each of the areas around industrial land. So there'll be plenty of opportunities there. And I'm going to move to 11.6, the draft Beechworth Historic Precinct Experience Master Plan. The recommendation is that Council endorses the draft Beechworth Historic Precinct Phase 2 Experience Master Plan and place it on exhibition for community feedback for a period of 45 days. Do I have someone to move that? Councillor Shepherd. Do I have a seconder? Did I see your hand, Councillor Gaffney? Yep, great, thanks. Councillor Shepherd.
Yeah, look, I'm the councillor on this committee, as was, and I just wanted to say what a great process. Like, often I'm a bit finicky about about how these processes work. But Susanna Doyle, Cameron Orty, and Jennifer Allen, and Ewan Oldmeadow, so all represented council. And then, of course, there were 5 or so people from the different consultants groups too that were on this committee, and it worked very well. I was often saying things about the community, and they would just say, yes, we will ask the community that, yes, we'll put more community focus on it. Like, they were just very responsive, and I think it shows in the report that they've listened to all the people they've spoken to, and it's quite a well-rounded document. I think the community will be enjoyed reading it. Really, it's quite readable. It's not only about tourism; it's about making our historic precinct more available for our community, and like the police paddocks, making that a space that the community be able to have events and sit in and enjoy. And each one of those sort of areas is really going to be looked at as a separate project, but overall, it will be an historic precinct heritage event that you'll be able to go to many different types of things. And of course, each one of them will have to be staged. But overall, I think it's an amazing plan, and I commend it, the people who've involved who got to this stage. And I really send it out to the community, hoping that they give us great feedback. And I know quite a few of the community have already had input and were very happy with it. So looking forward to hearing what everyone thinks.
Great. Councillor Gaffney is seconder.
Yep. Thank you, Madam Mayor. We absolutely need to get this right. The community feedback will be very, very important, and I'm sure that we'll take it all into account. I know that the Friends of the Burke, with over 200 members, are going to discuss this at the Burke on the 17th of August, and I'm sure that they will examine it very, very closely. I really like the document. I think it's very well prepared. I don't agree with it completely, but I'll certainly listen to what the community has to say, not just my personal view. I think it's good that it's going out for 60 days.
45.
45, is it?
Yeah, 45.
So I'm looking forward to those documents coming back, and I congratulate Council in preparing the document and putting it into the community arena.
Thanks, Councillor. Anyone else wish to speak to this motion? Councillor Croucher? You're on mute, Councillor. So annoying, isn't it?
Sorry, yeah.
Okay, we will do it.
I've got a clock that chimes here every half an hour. That's why I keep turning it off. From somebody who lives in Tangambalanga, look, I see that precinct as something that is very, very unique, and I think doesn't necessarily belong all the time to Beechworth, because I'd like to think of it as an Indigo Shire sort of thing as well. And in that case, I'd like to see that exhibition of this document goes to all the towns throughout the Shire, and that we get to have a bit of a look at it as well, because it is unique, and I know the people of Beechworth as part of it, but I'd like to see it as it's really part of the Indigo Shire. And I hope that we can get some feedback from people in our area and all around the place as well.
Thank you, Councillor. Anyone else wish to speak to this one? Councillor Price.
Just to echo lots of what's already been expressed, but I think this document is a really good representation of what happens when you get all of the right people in the room from the outset. it's really comprehensive. All of the sites are really well understood, and it's really well articulated in the plan. And we've even heard commentary that the community are looking forward to receiving the draft. So look forward to their feedback, as do the other councillors.
Absolutely. Anyone else wish to speak to this motion? Okay, Councillor Shepherd, do you want to sum up? No? Okay, I'm going to put the motion. All those in favour? Carried. And yes, I'd also like to congratulate everyone that was involved in this great process. It is a really interesting document, and I learned a lot. I actually learned a lot about the history of Beechworth that I didn't know, even though I live here. So it's a great read, whether you live in Beechworth or not. It's very interesting, and I think as the Deputy Mayor said, you know, this belongs to the whole Shire. It's something we can all be incredibly proud of, the heritage of our Shire. So thanks, councillors. 11.2. This is the proposal.
Councillor Goldsworthy.
Oh,
Just wait for Councillor Goldsworthy.
thank you, CEO. Imagine forgetting him. Don't tell him. You're back.
Greg would have had him covered.
Okay, 11.2. Proposed relocation of the Chiltern SES to the Chiltern Depot. So the recommendation is that council, subject to the successful completion of any planning processes, supports the relocation of the Chiltern SES facility to the land identified at the Chiltern Depot, and reallocates the $129,000 that was allocated to the previous activation of the 2 industrial lots at the Chiltern Depot to the Chiltern Community Hub and SES relocation project. Do I have someone to move this? I have Councillor Price. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Goldsworthy. Councillor Price, would you speak to the motion?
So the long anticipated Chiltern Community Hub, obviously part of that funding that we received was we had to relocate the SES facility, and it was originally discussed that they could be accommodated on the site right beside, which would put them beside the CFA building. There's been some, certainly at the focus group that I attended, there was some discussion about whether that was an appropriate site. CFA and SES have both raised with us for quite a while now issues with turnout, as they say. So when they're going to an emergency, just navigating those main roads of town in the centre of town, it's not a great position for them. So I'm really pleased that our staff have been able to work with local SES, regional SES, to come to this proposed relocation, and I think it's quite an appropriate site. It puts them up close to the freeway, and although, as discussed in the previous item about the industrial land, it means that industrial land won't occur on this site. I think it is an appropriate activation of this site, and I'm happy to see the $129,000 be reallocated to accommodate the SES, considering the majority of the fund, well, overwhelmingly the majority of the funding came from state funding for this project. So I'm pleased to see this happen so that the community hub can continue to progress, and hopefully that comes to the following meeting.
Yes, thanks for that, Councillor. Councillor Goldsworthy.
Yes, I agree with everything that Councillor Price just mentioned, because this is a significant step in the process to delivering some infrastructure that's badly needed in Chiltern, and it also provides a relocation for the SES, which I feel is a better position. It's on higher ground. It's not close to the confluence of the 3 streams that seem to come into Chiltern when it gets flooded. So it should be a great site for them to work from. It'll be in conjunction with council. One of the important components of their work is in flooding, and when that occurs, they need to work in conjunction with council. So it's really an ideal site for them to move to, and hopefully we can get on with the community hub. So it's got a couple of big ticks from me.
Great, thanks, Councillor. Councillor Shepherd?
I'd just like to reiterate what Councillor Price said congratulate our staff and to congratulate the SES hierarchy and the local SES in being so nimble. I mean, anyone else might have just said, well, no, that's where we said we were going to put it and it's going to go there. But, you know, they were able to work, and in a very short time, they were able to work collaboratively and find in being nimble, that word that that new word we're using a lot now, in being able to look for another site and to make it work for everybody. So I just think it's a great story. Other than, you know, what we said earlier about, you know, perhaps community being concerned about the industrial land, but it's a better space for the SES, and it's probably better than having industrial site up there. So congratulations to our staff and to the SES. I think it's a great result.
Anyone else wish to speak to this motion? Councillor Horn.
Yeah, I'd just like to say that I think it's, as we all know, an emergency time is the essence. So,
Councillor Horn, we're having a bit of trouble hearing you. Councillor,
a few extra minutes.
Councillor, sorry, you might need to turn your camera off so we can hear you. That's better.
Is that better?
Yes, it is. Sorry.
I just wanted to point out that time is of the essence in an emergency. So I believe that position will be far more beneficial to the service that they provide. So yeah, I think it's good all the way around.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to speak to the motion? I'm going to go back to Councillor Price to sum up.
I think that we will realise how important a move this was in years to come when we see the community hub up and functioning as people are coming back and forth from the library, the meeting rooms, the childcare, the maternal child health nurse. It'll be really important that we didn't have the community hub right, but side by side the SES, because I think traffic management in that area would have been a real concern for us, and we don't want to be mixing the two really. So it will allow appropriate space for parking on the community hub site, and it will allay that concern of the SES with their turnout concerns that they've raised with us. So again, I think it's a really good outcome in a short amount of time, and can't wait to see the community hub now progress.
Okay, so I'm going to put the motion. All those in favour? Absolutely, great. And yes, it's exciting. Chilton's going through a very exciting time at the moment with a lot of great things happening in the future. So this is another step in that direction. It's fantastic. 11.3, Caravan Park Report. So the recommendation is that Council endorses the Indigo Shire Caravan Park Report June 2021 and acknowledges the report as the foundation reference, or Part A, for the 21-22 Caravan Parks Master Planning, which would be Part B. Do I have someone to move this motion? Councillor Goldsworthy. Do I have a seconder? Seconder, anyone? Thank you, Councillor Shepherd. Okay, Councillor Goldsworthy.
Yep. This report is significant insofar as we initially tried to get some master planning off the ground for our caravan parks in the last budget, and the funds that we allocated to it were probably insufficient to get the work done that we required. What was done, they were able to bring together a status quo for the industry and what we can expect. And you're talking about a $8.3+ million industry for the Indigo Shire. It highlights that and the importance of caravanning to our shire, and where we go from here in relation to developing a master plan. We need that sort of information to put towards the funding bodies, the likes of RDV, to substantiate why we should enhance our caravan parks, the four that Council currently has leaseholders in. So for that reason, I think it's important that we acknowledge the work that's been done and we move towards developing master plans for all four of our caravan parks. We want them to be the best they can be so that they can bring in tourism and employment for our shire.
Thanks, Councillor. Councillor Shepherd is seconder.
Yes, as per our earlier community, looking at the community awards, the fact that our Beechworth Lake Samble Caravan Park won a Orby Wodonga Business Award shows you that we have the right type of lessees, and now it's our job really to look at infrastructure, to talk about budget, to look at a master plan for each of them, to allow us to work with our leaseholders to create an even better tourism offering.
Thanks, Councillor. Anyone else wish to speak to this? Councillor Gaffney.
I've just got some questions, Madam Mayor.
Sure.
Item 1, which was the Indigo Shire Caravan Park report, June 2021, that was budgeted in the previous council. That was 20,000 of ratepayers' money, or was that grant money?
I'm gonna ask. Who am I going to ask? CEO Mark.
Mark will answer it, but
yeah, Director Florence. Mark.
Yeah, that was allocated in the council budget.
Okay, thanks. And then the second part is for the Caravan Park Master Plan, which has got 50,000 in the current budget, and it's hoped that we can lever another 50,000 from the state government. Another neighbouring council did a master plan for the Talangata Caravan Park, and I noticed that Councillor Goals already said that the master plan, that we hope that it would be the best that they can be. I'm just wondering, and also Councillor Goldsworthy was on the project control group, what standard do you expect to reach with this report? And I think the yardstick is the big 4 parks. Would this match those?
Councillor Goldsworthy, do you want to address that question? Does it match the big, is that the standard we're looking for?
Sure. So we would like to bring up our caravan parks to a better standard. So it's things like ensuring all the roads are paved, they've got guttering, that they've got power to their sites, that they've got camp kitchens, if they've got some play equipment for kids. And if that means getting up to a standard which some would expect if they visited a big 4 caravan park, then I would love to see that, to see the best that they could be, because they're in great locations, and we've just got to help our lessees capitalise on the location and develop some of the infrastructure. If you've ever been around some of the caravan parks, you can see that they're in desperate need of assistance and upgrading. So, you know, some of the buildings would have been in the 50s and 60s that they were last built. So, yeah, they need help.
The concerns for me is that with the management plan for the Talangata Caravan Park, the cost to do it up, to bring it up to Big 4 standard, would cost over $1 million. So we're talking about 4 parks, and if we're going to bring them up to be the best that they can possibly be, who's going to pay? Will it be Indigo Shire? Like, we only get back, we get a net return of $33,000 from the lease of these parks, and yet if you want these parks to be the best they can, you're talking about millions of dollars. And I'm just wondering whether the ratepayers of Indigo Shire will be expected to pay that.
So, Councillor Gaffney, just in terms of the Talangata Caravan Park, that was, I'm pretty sure that was a big grant announcement as part of recovery for the Towong Shire. So I think grants often are the way that we would seek that kind of funding if they were to be upgraded significantly. And certainly in that case, I'm pretty sure they got a grant for that as a bushfire recovery. Yeah.
That Towong Shire does not manage that park, and really has nothing to do with that park. It's owned by Goulburn Murray Water. They're trying to give it to Towong Shire, but Towong Shire don't want it because of the expense to ratepayers.
So
I'm just wondering how much this is going to cost. It's good enough to do the report, but then do we act upon that report on the master plan?
Okay, I'm just not quite sure what your question is, because this is actually just about the report itself. There's no costings in here as such.
I realise that, but once the report's done, if you want the parks to be, as Councillor Giles already said, the best that they can be, there's a massive expense.
So I
and
think,
I'm just wondering who's going to pay for that to bring them up to that standard.
so I guess in terms of this motion, this is about doing the master plan, and then once the master plan is done, I guess they're the questions that would have to be asked and answered. So perhaps you're skipping a step there, Councillor. We haven't got the master plan yet to know what the costings might be or how we might fund it. So this motion is just about actually looking at getting master planning done, so we could then look at how we fund that. So are you happy to talk to that bit of it, or do you want to, like, we haven't done the master plan yet? Sorry, I'm not being very clear.
The question was, if we're going to spend this much money doing
But we don't know how much
for the 4 parks, no, I'm talking about the money to do the master plan.
So okay,
which will be up to $100,000.
Yeah, the 4.
Yeah,
25,000.
yeah.
Yes.
So once we've got the master plan, do we act upon it, or do we? I'm not sure.
Okay. As I said, I think at this stage, this motion itself, while that's a very reasonable question, is literally about getting the master plans done, and then obviously once they're done, we would know how much money might be involved, what those plans might be, but we don't have that information yet. So do you want a further answer to that, or are you flagging the fact that you've got concerns that this could be a very expensive proposition?
Very, very expensive.
Okay, yes. Yep, sure. Okay, anyone else wish to speak to this motion? Councillor Price.
Can I just ask, in the event that they do come out with big price tags attached that we would then have to fund, where would we be looking to fund them from?
Yeah, Director Florence.
A couple of comments. So, yes, it's likely that the master plan will identify a whole range of different projects within each of the caravan parks. It would then be up to a combination of council, lessees, government to identify funding sources for that. Very similar to a lot of our strategies, whether it's Active Indigo, Lakes and Waterways, each of those, if you totaled up the cost of those projects in there, would be, multi-million-dollar projects there. Master planning is about creating the vision for what the facility can be, and then identifying what the costs are, and then progressively working through to achieve that within budget, within opportunities for grants. So short answer to your question is that it would be a combination of funding from a whole range of sources.
I'd just like to make a few comments now.
Sorry, Councillor?
I'll just make some comments to the debate.
Yes, of course, go ahead.
Firstly, this isn't the report that I thought we were originally going to receive, and I acknowledge that early on in the process it was identified that the scope was too broad, and we'd asked for too much with not enough budget. So it doesn't really achieve what we initially thought it was going to. However, it is a good first step. I share some of the concerns of Councillor Gaffney. I do wonder how we will fund it into the future if as people keep saying, the funding is going to dry up at some stage, whether there will be opportunities to fund it. But I support master planning for those sites because, as we know, with the people that are running them, they maximise every opportunity that they can within their own abilities to make the sites as good as they can be right now. So I think, why wouldn't we support them to continue to do that? And wouldn't it be great to have a consistent caravan park offering across Indigo Shire to be able to advertise to people for when they come and stay with us?
Thanks, Councillor. Anyone else wish to speak to this motion? Councillor Goldsworthy, do you wish to sum up?
Yes. So this is a growing market. In fact, some would say a booming market. If you try and buy a caravan at the moment, you probably won't take possession of it for another year. Caravan parks are big business, and the better offering we have, the more chance we've got of attracting more people to our localities, and the better our economy will be. So this is not about enhancing individual lessees just for their business proposition. This is about making the whole economy of our region a bigger and better one. And for that reason, you will get grants, and we will work in cooperation with them and the lessees to ensure that we've got great caravan parks to visit.
Okay, so I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Carried, no one against. Carried, thank you. 11.4 is the swimming pool report, swimming pools report, I beg your pardon. We have 5 of them. The recommendation is that council receives the report of the 2020-21 swimming pool season. So do I have someone to move it? Councillor Goldsworthy, seconder. Councillor Croucher. Councillor Goldsworthy.
This is a good opportunity every year that we have to assess where our swimming pools are at, the expenses that they cost in comparison to some of our other facilities, and to take stock of where we are with our pools. We do have issues with the ageing infrastructure of some of our pools, of which were built predominantly in the 70s. We know that very shortly we'll have to deal with the management of those pools. I think some of the costings that we've seen in here highlight the need to have more oversight on our pools in relation to just across the 5 pools that we have, and the costs that they're incurring. So I think this is important for council to look, understand a significant piece of infrastructure and cost centre, and to know exactly where we're going for future decisions. So it is important to receive it, and so that the community understands the costs involved. And by way of comparison, you look at swimming pools versus our libraries versus, say, the Burke Museum. And out of all those 3, swimming pools are the cheapest and probably offer as much as anything in comparison to the others to our community.
Okay, thank you, Councillor. Councillor Croucher.
Yes, I'd like to endorse all the words said by Councillor Goldsworthy. But this was a very, very comprehensive report, and the swimming pools are absolutely vital to all those, and particularly our little towns. I know we've got one in Tangambalanga, and it's a vital thing for us, and not only for our people, but also I noticed we get quite a few schools coming in from Wodonga who use our pool as well. But I thought the report was very, very worthwhile getting and knowing exactly where we stand with pools, not only in my little town, but in all of the towns of Indigo Shire. So it was a very comprehensive report. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Croucher. Anyone else wish to speak to this one? Councillor Price.
I'd just like this comment in the conclusion that council's pools will always play a critical part in community wellness and connectedness, especially in regional areas with warmer climates. I think that it's really important for council to maintain oversight over a significant service that we provide. I think it's really important that we maintain a high standard in terms of what we provide in these spaces, and they really are community gathering spaces and really important to the communities that have them. And I look forward to receiving this report into the future, and hopefully seeing really great service delivery continue.
Okay, anyone else? Yes, Councillor Shepherd.
I just had a couple of questions really. The solar heating system at Beechworth and Yak had issues, which could be addressed by better maintenance and preparation over the winter off season. So just wondering if that's being addressed, and also the water leaking from Yakandanda Pool sounds pretty onerous. I'm just wondering if that's been addressed as well, or is it being addressed?
Thanks, Councillor. Yes, all of those issues are being assessed now that we're in the new financial year, and we have some budget in our capital works and maintenance operation budgets to be able to address some of those issues.
Okay, anyone else? I'll come back to Councillor. Oh, yeah, Councillor Horn.
Yes, it's undeniable the importance of the swimming pools in all of our communities.
Might need to turn your camera off again, Councillor.
I'm having trouble, are we?
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, there you go.
Is that better?
Yes.
It's quite bizarre, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yes, I was just saying that I agree that swimming pools are indeed a very, very important part of our whole community's wellness. But teaching people to swim, and with the concerns about the climate changing, obviously there's going to be more issues there. But all age groups, you know, young people and elderly people using it for mobility improvement and things like that. And I'm wondering if with this new financial year, if we will have funds available to put basic things that don't cost very much, as in the a shade over the handrail into the Rutherglen pool, because I know a lot of the elderly people struggle as they're going into the water. They scald themselves on the metal. So I'd be very keen to know if there will be funds made available for just those inexpensive items.
Okay, so Mark Florence, have you got any reassurance there for Councillor Horn about minor upgrades for the swimming pools?
Yeah, we can look into those sort of issues. Yeah, so if there's concerns about user safety, we'll certainly address those. So I'd be interested to get some more details from Councillor Horn on that one.
All right,
thank you.
So you make note of that and follow up.
Thank you very much.
Terrific. Okay, anyone else wish to speak on this item? I'm coming back to you, Councillor Goldsworthy.
The patronage of our pools fluctuates, and certainly of recent years with COVID and fires and the like, but they will always play an important part. And as mentioned previously, with climate change, it'll be ever increasing. It's definitely something council is judged by the community on, and we really need to get it as right as we can, or as best as we can. So we need to be across these sort of things.
Okay, so I'm going to put the motion. All those in favour? Thanks, councillors. Carried. 11.5, off-leash dog walking in Beechworth, the Wallace Park option. So the recommendation is that council seek community feedback for a period of 60 days on the concept plan for a fenced off-leash dog walking area fenced off-leash dog walking area at Wallace Park, Beechworth, as an alternative to the current off-leash dog provisions in Beechworth. That we acknowledge the risks and challenges of a declared off-leash dog area at the Beechworth Golf Club in the Barmutha Park Precinct, and that we continue to work with the Beechworth Golf Club to manage the existing use of the declared off-leash dog area at Barmutha Park until an alternative off-leash dog area is established in Beechworth. Do I have someone to move this? Councillor Goldsworthy, do I have a seconder? Councillor Gaffney, thank you. Councillor Goldsworthy.
Look, ever since the off-leash area was declared out of Barmutha Park, there have been conflicts and issues between the two parties. It hasn't been pleasant at times, and it's been fairly distressing for some involved. We need to look at an alternative. There are considerable legal liabilities, potentially if somebody's hit by a golf ball, or it may well come back onto council. We really need to work through these issues. It will be a vexing problem amongst the community, because as the golfers enjoy strolling through some of those magnificent trees out there, so do the dog walkers and their pets. So we need to strike a balance. The proposal is, at this stage, after a number of years now that we've been looking at this, that Wallace Park be examined in more detail. There is a design that's been put towards council. I believe that this is just for discussion. Look, to be brutally frank, with the costs involved with an off-leash area as proposed, I have significant concerns about that. I have a feeling that if we didn't have the gymkhana or the dog exercise area where they're jumping through hoops and over logs, then it may well be considerably cheaper. And if it was just a fenced area, I'd like to think that it could be delivered for a lot less than 114,000. So I'm sure we'll get significant feedback on this on both sides, and sheer numbers of feedback probably won't be the determining factor. I feel that it'll be good suggestions that will make the difference. So we'll wait to see what the community tells us.
Yeah, great. Okay, thanks, Councillor. Councillor Gaffney.
I think part 2 of this motion sums it all up about the risk and challenges of a declared off-leash dog area and the Beechworth Golf Club. It's not only somebody being hit by a golf ball, it's also someone being bitten by a dog. And the abuse from one side to the other can't continue. I think we're the only council in Australia, or certainly Victoria, that's got an off-leash dog area on a golf course. It's just puts council at considerable risk. I'm looking forward to the community feedback, and I know other councillors have got concerns about the cost of a fence. It'll be interesting to see what the community come up with, but it can't continue the way it is.
Thanks, Councillor. Anyone else wish to speak to this motion? Councillor Shepherd and then Councillor Croucher.
This has been really messy for me, trying to work my way through this whole, and I imagine for all the councillors really, because it's a matter of everybody has rights, I suppose, and I'm not sure that we even with this recommendation that we're covering what the concerns are going to be for the community. Like the dog park really is a space for dog socialisation. Normally happens at those sort of dog parks. It's not really an exercise. Go for a run, let your dog off the leash and run like they would at Barmutha Park. So I imagine, you know, it would be an alternative or an addition to an off-leash area having that space for dog socialisation, people socialisation. And I'm also wondering how we're going to enforce the removal of dogs and people from the Barmutha Park area when we say that's not an off-leash area. Will it mean that people who have their dogs on leash will be allowed to walk there? There's still a lot of questions for me in this recommendation, and I know there's questions with the officers as well. I don't think anyone thinks they have the answer. So I mean, I think it's worth absolutely putting it out there for the community to give us feedback. We certainly got the golf club's feedback, and I'd be interested in hearing the community's concerns and their suggestions. But I do see, yes, there's also an issue with dogs and golf balls probably don't mix. So yeah, it's a very muddy area.
Okay, thanks, Councillor. Councillor Croucher.
Yes, I agree wholeheartedly with Councillor Shepherd. I find this very messy area too, and very unusual. I didn't even know that there was a fenced-off dog area in Beechworth as well. I just thought this would have been more an internal sort of a thing, that a dog group would afford an area to go and get so forth. I'm a bit worried that once it gets out, there'll be all sorts of people throughout the Shire that'll be wanting areas for their dogs as well. I just can see this happening quite a bit. I can see there's an issue with the golf course and so forth, but I'm just a little bit concerned that once this gets out, I know there'd be a lovely area down here at the Tangambalanga Oval where we could have a dog place as well. I just found this to be very unusual to have this put forward. But anyway, that's it.
Okay. Anyone else wish to speak to this motion? Councillor Horn.
I'd be interested in knowing the situation around all the other towns and the off-dog areas, etc. Off-leash situation in the other towns.
Okay. Thanks, Councillor. So is that a question you actually want feedback from? Okay, all right. So when we're looking further into this issue, that we also look at what does happen across the Shire. Okay, and anyone else wish to speak to this motion? Councillor Shepherd, you've already spoken. Have you got a question? Sorry.
Yes, I have got a question.
Yeah, the question's fine.
The option about the Mayday Hills site, is that an opportunity to perhaps trial that and see whether we could do something with that?
I've got CEO's got his hand up on this one. Yes. CEO Areno.
The Mayday Hills option had a similar issue to concerns raised at Barnmouth Park, and that was the mixing of sport with dogs. So there's lots of sports played on that oval. And so some of the concerns that are raised at Barnmouth Park also involve sport mixing with doggy do on the ground while they're playing their sport. So I think there's a similar issue. I mean, it's an option, but it's not one that's been put forward as preferred at this stage.
Okay. Councillor Gaffney, have you got a question?
Just a question for Councillor Croucher.
Yeah.
I know he's looking around for some spare land down at Tangambalanga. I thought that there was some spare land on the Kiowa River.
Councillor, is that a question?
Yes. Yes. I was just wondering whether he considered that land by the Kiowa River.
Yeah. Thank
Okay.
you. Point taken.
I'm going to.
It's council owned as well.
I'm going to disallow that as lacking in relevance. Let's go back to Councillor Goldsworthy to sum up, please.
Yeah, just that, look, this is going out for public consultation. So for all our concerns, I think we're yet to hear from the public, and that'll probably drive where we go from here. That and the potential expense of developing a off-leash area. I will say it's highly successful in Wodonga to have a fenced-off area, and I think we could. I'd like to think that if it did go ahead, it would be a lot less than 114,000.
Okay, all right. So I'm going to put the motion. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Thanks, councillors. And we're up to the infrastructure services. Oh, CEO Areno, yes.
So, Madam Mayor, just in regards to that last item, should I raise the submission we had during the day?
Oh, actually,
Yeah.
I need to do that. I apologise. Yeah, there was a comment that came in. Not a comment. There was a clarification request that came in from the very observant Mr. Jeffrey Palmer, who said that on the report we talked about the boundary of Wallace Park being Silver Creek, and Jeff was saying it's actually Spring Creek. And so that's been noted, and we'll clarify that, and we'll make sure that it's corrected in the report if that's the correct way to go. So thank you for letting us know about that. And I believe you've been in contact with Mr. Palmer, Mark Florence, talking about this further. Okay, great. All right. So thank you. Yeah, thank you very much for letting us have that information. 12.1 is the June Capital Works report. The recommendation is the council notes the June Capital Works report and the year-to-date achievements in the delivery of the Capital Works program. Do I have someone to move this? I have Councillor Goldsworthy. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Croucher. Great, thank you. Councillor Goldsworthy.
It's a very detailed 7-page matrix that's before us, as well as the report. I'm very appreciative of the work that goes into developing the report and also the execution of what we've requested over the year. So we can see the expenditures in the order of $9.8 million. It looks like the financial completion rate is around about the 87%. So there's significant achievements in that. And so just having a quick look at the budget, it was a Q2 forecast, I think, of 11.3 million. So it was quite an achievement to get that done. Probably always aim for at least a 90% achievement, and due to COVID and the weather, I can understand where not everything was delivered, but there's really good explanations in the matrix as to where the projects are at. And I'm sure if anyone has any inquiries, they could ask the Director for Infrastructure, and he would tell you if you wanted more information. So thank you to the staff from the Director and CEO, Director, and you and Old Meadow down for all the work that they do, because it's a terrific result, and it really means a lot to our community to have some of these facilities upgraded and developed.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Croucher.
Yes, thank you very much for the finer details that you give, Councillor Goldsworthy, particularly in that capital works project. I just think the overall level of expenditure in comparison with the same time last year, and despite COVID, has often impacted onto our program. Our capital works delivery continues to progress well, and I find that the best way of summing it up.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to speak to this one? Councillor Gaffney.
Just a question for the Director of Infrastructure, Madam Mayor.
Yeah, sure.
The Epic Mountain Bike Trail is a $2 million project, and I note that the year to date that $374,000 has been spent. I was wondering if you could explain that for me, please.
Director Ellett. Oh, I think, have you frozen there?
I didn't mean to shock you, Madam Mayor, but
he's frozen. If you turn your camera off, Ian, we might be able to hear you, and I'll go to Trevor in the meantime. Trevor might be able to fill you in if Ian's gone offline. Oh no, here he is. Ian, are you happy to answer that question? You got a mouthful.
No, I froze. I didn't hear any of the question. I heard all of preamble and my screen totally froze. So if you could ask the question again.
It froze.
Yeah, basically, $2 million project, Epic Mountain Bike Trail, but so far we've spent $200,000 to $300,000 or $300,000. So I believe the question is, what have we spent?
$374,000.
What have we spent the $374,000 on in regards to Epic so far?
All right, yeah, look, thank you. I don't have an exact breakdown, but certainly a combination of things. So the first part of the project is from the township of Yak out along Yak Creek. So there was funding provided to the community through the Pick My Project, which was state government grant funding. So that actually correlates with the first part of the Epic Trail. So we've had to put some of that funding in to support that construction-wise. We've purchased the native vegetation offset for that first part. The bulk of the money, though, has been spent on project management, on design, and there's lots of other permits, approvals, consultants, reports, etc., to support the application. So there's environmental assessments, which is not just your native veg, but other environmental assessments, archaeological and cultural heritage assessments to support planning permits. Pardon me. Also, we need landowner approval. So we're going through different land, and there's been a lot of cost just to get all the approvals and consents through there. So I guess in a nutshell, a small part of that will have contributed to the construction of the first part and the purchase of native veg offsets, and the majority has been spent on I guess what I just bracket as permits, approvals, assessments, and consents.
Okay, thank you. That was a very detailed answer. Thank you. Any further questions on that one, Councillor Gaffney?
No, but I have heard very good reports about the Yakandanda to Yak Creek stretch.
Yeah.
I didn't realise the council was involved, but I thought we must have been to some degree, and they're very happy with that. Thanks.
Yeah, great. Anyone else wish to speak to this Capital Works report? Councillor Goldsworthy, do you wish to add anything further?
Nope.
Okay, I'm going to put the motion. All those in favour? 7 hands. Thanks, councillors. 13.1, Advisory Committee Terms of Reference Review. The recommendation is that council adopts the attached draft terms of reference for the following advisory committees: the Indigo Community Access Committee, the Indigo Community Grants and Awards Advisory Committee, the Indigo Environment Advisory Committee, the Indigo Finance Committee, Indigrow, and the Indigo Shire Cultural Heritage Advisory Committee. Do I have someone? Oh, sorry, second part of the motion requires that the individual recommendations from the advisory committee minutes to be included in the motion to endorse the minutes in the monthly report to council. Do I have someone to move this? Councillor Shepherd. Do I have a seconder? Do I see a hand? I do. I see Councillor Horn. And then, okay, Councillor Shepherd.
So in September 2018, the committee review recommended that all our advisory committees look at our terms of reference and review them. And it's listed in the report with the changes, but probably the more, the ones that I'd like to highlight is that the default position for these meetings will be open to the public unless there's something that, you know, is critical, that shouldn't be open to the public. But the finance committee won't be, because we discuss things that really shouldn't be open to the public. It's I think that's the reason. But the endorsement of the 2014 decision that councillors don't vote. So somehow one of the committees got through where councillors were able to vote, but we've decided a while back in 2014 that councillors shouldn't double dip. They get to vote at a council meeting. So that's been put in the terms of reference. And also the removal of appointment terms to reduce the risk of losing valuable volunteers. So our councillors are reviewed every year at statutory meeting, but yeah, we need to, if people want to stay on those advisory committees, they're welcome to stay on it. And of course, importantly, the recommendations used to just come in as per further on later down in the next in the agenda. They just come in a box under the this is what's happened at the advisory committees. It isn't brought to our attention unless someone happens to speak to it, what recommendations came from those committees. So now those recommendations are going to be put into the motion, which I think is a really good idea. So they're the main things, but people can see in the report the other changes.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else wish to speak? Oh, sorry, I have Councillor Horn as a seconder. Councillor Horn.
Yes, I think that second point is a very, very important one. And basically, this is just a bit of housekeeping. So I'm in support of it.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else wish to speak to the motion? Councillor Croucher.
I'd just like to mention that I'm on the Access Committee, and we've got 4 new volunteers from the different communities throughout the Shire, and it's terrific to be able to give them a set of rules that are clearly set out, and the advisory committees and how they stand and how the meeting is run and everything. Very, very good. I thought it was very, very clear and comprehensive, and I'm sure these 4 new members would find that out as well.
Thanks, Councillor. Anyone else wish to speak to the motion? Councillor Shepherd, do you want to make any summing up comments?
No.
Okay, I'm going to put the motion. All those in favour? And that's it, 7 hands. And I just will take the opportunity to thank the volunteers and the people that, on behalf of all of council, of course, that really do such an amazing job on those advisory committees. We probably couldn't do nearly any of the things that we do in council without the input that we get from these people who are so knowledgeable and are so prepared to donate their time to us. It's wonderful, and we're really very grateful to you. So thank you. 13.2 is for information. Contracts awarded under CEO delegation in June, and there was 1 contract awarded by our CEO for to Landmark Contracting for the route through Yakandanda, Part B, and that was within his delegated capacity. So thank you for that. And 13.3 advisory committee minutes. Recommendation is that council receives the attached unconfirmed advisory committee minutes and endorses the officer comments. Do I have someone to move that motion? Councillor Price, do I have a seconder? Councillor Gaffney, do you wish to speak to the motion, Councillor? Councillor Gaffney is seconder. Can't hear you.
The only minutes are the Finance Committee minutes, Madam Mayor, and they're quite detailed.
Okay, great. Anyone else wish to speak to the minutes, to the motion? I think I'm tired. Anyone else? Okay, I'll put that motion. All those in favour? Thanks, councillors. 13.4, informal meeting of councillors' records. The recommendation is that council accepts the attached informal meeting of councillors' records. And I did think I should point out that doesn't mean we're just sitting around having coffee. That used to be called an assembly of councillors, and they've changed the language in the new Local Government Act. So do I have someone to move that yes, thank you, that we do that. Thanks, Sophie. Thanks, Councillor Price. Second to Councillor Croucher. Do you wish to speak to the motion, Councillor? Councillor Croucher as seconder? No, put the motion. All those in favour? Carried. Thanks, councillors. There are no notices of motion for the meeting tonight. The Mayor's diary is there, or the Mayor's diary, my diary is there for the month of June. If anyone wants to raise any issues, please feel free. I'm going to take it that you don't. Any other councillor reports? Anyone wish to make a report about anything for this meeting? Okay, there's a register of decisions there that we've made, just that are there for information. Any general business tonight? Yes, Councillor Horn.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'd like to suggest that as we have a few extra people with us this evening, that it might be a nice opportunity for the CEO to explain for our communities and also the media the new processes for communicating to the communities and media.
New processes, are you alluding to any particular strategy, or is there?
No, just how councillors relate, how are able to communicate with their communities and with the media. We're getting quite a bit of requests for comments, etc. And I just think it would be helpful if we could explain to the communities how that works.
Okay, CEO, do you feel able to answer that question without perhaps getting some input from our manager, Mel Collis?
I will certainly have a go at it. In terms of, it's a whole range of ways that we interact with the community. We do have a community engagement policy, which defines lots of different ways we interact, particularly in regards to council decisions. On a day-to-day basis, we're always open to people submitting customer service requests for anything that comes up in the community that needs fixing or dealing with. So we obviously have a direct number to council when we take any inquiries, any complaints, any issues that need dealt with can be rung straight through to council, and those issues will be dealt with. All councillors have their mobile phones and email addresses on the website, as do I, so people can contact us at any time with any queries. And I guess all yourselves as councillors are generally out there at all times and accessible to the public. The media often make inquiries to us, and we do have a manager of communications and engagement. She has a great relationship with the media, so they all know who to call whenever they have a media inquiry. They go straight to our manager, Mel Collis. That's sort of a general overview. I'm not sure, councillors, there's something specific else you were alluding to?
Yes, perhaps if you could tease out the situation where councillors are able to speak to the media, or when the mayor speaks on behalf of the councillors.
So, Councillor Horn, we have I think I can answer that one. We have an agreement at council and it's indeed part of the Local Government Act, that the mayor speaks on behalf of council, on behalf of council decisions. We also have a tradition, and I think it's part of the way we've always functioned, that if another councillor does wish to speak to media, they usually let me know, just so that I know what's out there in case I get asked questions about it as well. But generally speaking, the mayor represents council to the media. That's the standard that we have operated under for as long as I've been on council, actually. Does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you very much.
Thank you. And I will add, there's just a good opportunity here, actually. It was in light of your question, Councillor. We are setting up a committee, I can't think of the right term, but it's like a community representative committee. If you want to be on that, it's on our website, and really it's a group of people from hopefully right across the Shire who might have a very big range of different interests and issues around their interest in local government, that we will be setting up discussions with, putting submissions to, so putting strategies to, so as well as our general kind of come and tell us what you think invitation, we are hoping to set up this reference group from people. So if anyone's interested in being a member of that, certainly it's something that our communications manager is organising at the moment, and it'll be on our website, and I know she's really keen to get people on that, and she's inviting anyone who's interested in having input to what we do on council to be on that committee. So that's another new strategy, Councillor, that hopefully we get even better engagement with our communities than we've had to date. So thank you for your question. Are there any other general business? I'm getting shaking heads, no hands. Okay, there's also no confident. Oh, Councillor Goldsworthy.
Yeah, Councillor Horn's last point, I just refer her to the Councillor Code of Conduct. If she reads page 8 of that, it speaks to media and communication, and it might enhance her knowledge a little bit.
Okay, thanks for that. Any other general business? No confidential items tonight for this meeting. So I'm going to declare the meeting closed at 8:08 p.m. And the next meeting is Tuesday, the 31st of August at 6:30 p.m. We are very much hoping finally to be able to have an in-person meeting with members